the school board, it would be getting more for Alparon Park. Number one, I guess my questions are, what are your maintenance fees for the Maple Festival and for the Troy Fair? Are you charging comparable to what you're charging our school district? I know, for example, we have Little League programs, we have the Troy Junior Football. We get charged for the use of those fields. They are not maintained by Alparon Park whatsoever. It is our volunteers that are maintaining those things. So I guess I'm very curious on where you think that these fees are going back into. Because in my opinion, the only thing that I can technically see is that it's going towards the benefit for the Troy Fair, and that's it. My other question is, this isn't just all about football. You know, I know that this is really coming up, but for the last 20 years, we have not had a home track meet either. So my proposal and my question back is, how do you prepare? How do you think that you're going to be able to do that? It wasn't necessarily the school district's choice to be able to meet there. You don't have the facility to be able to provide for an all-sports complex. You can't have track there. Number one, you paved half of it. Number two, it's not a sanctioned track due to the mileage thing. So those are my questions back to it. As far as the community-wise, I'm disappointed. I'm disappointed that the horseshoe pits are gone. So where's all this money going to with the things, and why is it that you're charging our high school program an astronomical amount of money for this lease, and it's just one sporting event? You are not taking any consideration to any of the other things that are going on.
I guess I'm next. I'm Brian Canfield. I am the treasurer of Alparon Park, and I guess I can answer some of those questions. You know, our total budget for the year expenses is $197,000. That's to run Alparon Park. That's just regular maintenance. That's to pay. We have a total payroll of about $50,000. That's just to run the place, and that's only for 7. Basically, that park is open 7 months of the year, November through March. Really, not much going on, you know, at Alparon Park. Sounds astronomical, but that's the reality of it. So, when you look in terms of percentages, what the school district is paying of that $196,000 is $15,000. Actually, if you want to add the electric in, it's closer to $18,000 or $19,000. We don't believe that's astronomical. We believe the facility, and I can give you some recent costs. We just painted the grandstand, and that's not included in the 196. That's over and above. We call capital improvements or major maintenance projects. We just spent $52,000 to paint the grandstand. Last year, or 2 years ago, we put a new roof on the grandstand. That was over $20,000. So the money that we get in from leases and what the volunteers actually, most of our money comes from volunteers doing Troy Fair. We charge Troy Fair, Alparon Park, we charge Troy Fair $21,000 a year for their 2 weeks that they utilize the park. When you think about $15,000, we already have one school district that is paying that amount. And they may be playing softball and baseball there. I don't know as they have a team, so you know, whether that's other parks, whether it's a junior high or whatever, but I question how much more Southern Tioga, the school district, is using their park over what you are using our park. And again, I would like to reiterate, I think we're all on the same team here. We certainly would like to have the Troy School District stay at Alparon Park and play football there. We'd like to make that the best football facility there is, but I'm not so sure that we want to pay for 100% of that. We can make that. We've had proposals in the past to level that field, to put drainage in. I'm not sure the school district has wanted to put the money in there. And that's understandable. It's difficult to put money into something that you don't ultimately own. But for the best dollar for the community and taxpayer, that may be an alternative that you may want to look at. As far as the track, I believe this community wants a track, needs a track, and is willing to support a track. But we've said that for the last 8 to 10 years and haven't got it done. I know what the pressures that you guys are under budget-wise. It's very difficult for you to say you can spend anything on a new track, but the reality is I think the community supports that. But I'll echo what Jeff says, to duplicate what you have down there in the facility, I think would be very difficult.
Thank you.
Good evening. My name is Wendy Cow, and I'm the secretary of the Troy Lions Club, and I'm here on behalf of the club. Some of you may not be aware that it was the Troy Lions who originally purchased the land where Alparon Park now stands in order to prevent a scrapyard from buying it. Our club then donated it back to the community to create Alparon Park to be used by the entire community and all local organizations for the greater benefit of Troy. The current conflict seems to be between an organization that needs money to maintain the park and an organization that wants an improved athletic facility. Both of these things cost money. Money for a new athletic complex would be a significant financial requirement for many, many years to come for the entire community, which needs to be carefully and fully considered in making any decision. Although the opportunity to play in Mansfield or Towanda is very much appreciated, having the local high school football team play their games in their hometown is important to maintaining and growing a sense of community with continuing involvement and support. The entire Troy community and its service clubs, such as the Lions, Boosters, and Rotary, etc., have worked to support the team and the school for decades. That work should count for something and not be quickly and easily dismissed. Generations of Trojans have called the park home, and this decision should not come down to just simply a dollar and cents decision between two organizations arguing over money. We are concerned that there are individuals within the current school leadership who are not fully recognizing and acknowledging the importance and value both to local people and the community as a whole in keeping school athletics within the community and home games at home. The Lions Club is essentially in a neutral position regarding the revenue generated from the football concessions. This is because all of the revenue generated by the club is utilized for donations back to the entire community as well as the school through athletic donations, academic scholarships, student recognition, and events, with no underlying financial benefit to the club itself. If football concessions become unavailable, we can pursue other alternatives to generate funds to benefit the community, although it would be greatly disappointing. We are hoping that the members of the school board understand the importance of continuing to play home games at home in Troy. We feel, if possible, the vote should be tabled until the next meeting for further input and discussion. However, if that's not possible, we hope the financial differences between Alparon Park and the school district can be resolved without any negative impact to the students, families, and members of the community. Thank you, the Troy Lions Club.
Tom Carpenter. I personally have a question for Mr. Camfield or Mr. Bowers. As a businessman, you just mentioned you charge the Troy Fair $21,000 for 2 weeks. Now you have a demolition derby, you have cattle, you have pigs, you have everything going on. That park takes a tremendous beating in 2 weeks, and your maintenance costs are far more than the $21,000. You just said that, $190,000 a year. It seems to me you're headed the wrong direction. You need to charge the fair maybe $50,000 or $75,000, which it makes the fair a loser instead of a cash cow, and put the blame where it belongs. It's your usage that is really running the park in the ground. You're charging Little League, you're charging the little football players, you're charging the school. Anybody that uses the park, you've got fees. But the fair is $21,000. You don't, those numbers don't add up, boys. Thank you.
Yeah, I reiterate that 21,000 is for the operational maintenance of Alparon Park. All of Troy Fair profits over and above that 21,000 are put back into various projects in that park. Half of that paint job for the grandstand is paid for by Troy Fair. Half of the improvements in the park, most of those improvements in the park are paid half by the Troy Fair. So Troy Fair is only, when you think 21,000, no, it's 21,000 plus whatever else they would net out as a profit. It goes back into the park and nowhere else.
Okay, getting off topic here a little bit. I know it is the fairgrounds. This is about the football program. What happens at the fairgrounds beyond football? What happens at the fairgrounds? I mean, we can all be here all night. But we need to keep with the subject, what your community wants to do with the football program for the future.
My name is Mark Carter. I've lived here for 25 years. I put 2 kids through Troy School. I look around the room here, and I see a bunch of givers and volunteers all the way around, financial, of their time, whatever. I was a past Pee Wee football president, and I think one of the things that gets overlooked when you have these types of discussions is the fact that nobody ever knows the whole story. I had the opportunity to work with people from the park board, people from the school, and everybody's all about the same thing and what's best for the program. There's little things. I know back as past president, there was an issue with where we could house all of our equipment between seasons. Seems like a trivial thing, but it was costing us about $1,500 a year. And I went to Bob Garrison, and we ended up buying a shed that they graciously let us keep right there. And I asked Mike Ritz the other day if they still have that, and I believe they have 2 now. And it's little things like that people don't know about. And when you see the other side of it, the things like the refuge, hauling the garbage away, the toilet paper in the bathroom, all these things that when I got in there, it was just unbelievable, all the other side of it. I was eating breakfast this morning, and I heard a couple of the guys at the bar talking about this thing here tonight. And nobody wants to leave. Nobody wants to drive to Towanda. Nobody wants to drive to Mansfield. I don't have a solution to this problem, but it just doesn't seem like it's a big gap, $4,000, $5,000. I personally, and I'm sure everybody else in the room here would rather pay an extra $1 or $2 to stay right here at Troy to offset that, to stay here, rather than spend $20 in gas to go either one of those places. I wish I'd have wrote some of this stuff down, but, I just don't think we're that far off. The one thing I will say, this agreement was a 20-year agreement. And I'm sure we would all like to be able to look and predict 20 years into the future. I do believe that the school board, I was just doing a little of the math on the locker room facility, and at $4,000 or $5,000 a year for 20 years, I think they definitely bought and paid for that place. Now that's used by the fair, the office, correct? I mean, I just think there's got to be a little more give and take. I think it's just not as simple as, we're kind of acting like school bullies and nobody's going to back down. I think we, okay.
Thank you.
Was you up first?
My name's Jim Calkins. I'm a Troy graduate of 1976, and they had a meeting about like this when they built the Commons building, a swimming pool, and a few people, they stood up, said their piece, no pool. Now we're talking about Alparon Park and football. It's not just football. It's track, girls soccer, boys soccer, and I've been waiting 38 years. They promised us a track. No track. And if if we sign this lease for 5 more years of bureaucracy and politics, same discussion will be in 5 years. They need to get away from Alparon Park. I think, and just my last closing statement, the park is a nonprofit organization, but I think the Troy Fair is a profit organization that hides behind the park. We just can't keep doing this. Sooner or later, we got to leave in order to get people to go forward so all the kids can benefit, not just the football team.
My name is Dale Palmer, and I sat on Alparon Park for probably 16 years. I've seen a lot of things happen, but one thing I think we're wasting a lot of time. I'd like to see the new athletic field flashed up here like they flashed it up at the alumni thing, so we can have that, because that's what we're all talking about, is make Alparon Park look bad so the people will let us buy this athletic field, and that's what it's all about. When you talk about how much the office building and everything cost a year, they're pointed out $5.5 million to winterize the 3 buildings that they've just remodeled in the last few years, and they're going to put $5.5 million into that already. You know, so I don't believe $4,000 a year is much for that. They can figure that in.
Thank you.
Good evening. My name is David Van. I'm a resident here in Troy Borough, and I'd like to speak just for a moment as a director and officer of 2 organizations that are stakeholders in the situation that we're talking about here tonight. First of all, is the Trojan Booster Club. As president of the Booster Club, I'd like to point a few things out. We rely on home football, varsity JV games as a staple of our fundraising. Over the years, the Booster Club, and I don't want to talk dollars and cents because you can manipulate numbers, been very generous to both Alparon Park and the school district. If we were to lose the ability to run our fundraisers at home football games, we could expect to probably lose 25% of our fundraising capacity. I will tell you that in 2011-2012 school year, the Trojan Booster Club provided sports teams with capital improvements and donations to each individual team in cheerleading, $20,000. The 2012-2013 school year, we provided these organizations, the school district benefited directly to the tune of $10,000 to $12,000. We're talking a $5,000 difference here, folks, between where the Alparon Park is and where the school board is. Is the school board or the school district able to make up the shortfalls if we're not able to come up with funding that we're giving to the sports teams? Let me give you an example. A few years ago, we poured almost $25,000 into upgrading the weight room up in the Commons building. We continue annually to pay for upkeep on that, maintenance costs, and whatnot. Is the school board going to be able to take up that slack if we're not able to pay for that? Are you going to be able to budget that money? Those are just some of the things. So when I'm talking about dollars and cents here, folks, we all lose if this program leaves here. And that's from the Booster Club's perspective. The other thing is, as the chairman of the municipal authority, which owns Alparon Park, which Jeff alluded to, we are entrusted with the representing the public and preserving Alparon Park, which is owned by the citizens of this community. And we want to do everything we can to make sure that that happens. There is potential there, and the possibilities can be talked about for the municipal authorities stepping in here and perhaps providing some guidance and assistance in getting this thing done to make sure the football stays in Troy. We'd be very open to any kind of dialogue, and we hope we can pursue that before any final decisions are made. Thank you.
My name is Jennifer Milhorn. I don't really need the microphone, but I'm going to use it anyways. And I was told I had to be nice because my dad's here, so I'm going to try that too. I just want to say I've heard a lot of feedback on this being on Troy Borough Council. No one wants it to go away. But the thing I want to speak more to is discussing issues in the media, starting the discussion there is not attractive. Doesn't do any of us any good. And all it does is polarize the community like has been stated. So I guess that portion, I'm a little disappointed in a bunch of adults that we can't take care of this before it gets in the media. And I also had some comments that Troy Fair Board, Alparon Park Board has been too silent. They haven't been too silent, they just don't choose to combat this in the media, which is how it should be. So that's pretty much all I have to say. Thank you very much.
I do have a question. If we had done this with one of ourselves and made our decision, then I think we would have gotten the accusation where we didn't have input. So what is your suggestion between the two?
Now, what was the question? If you had done what?
What else do you do is really the question.
Have a night meeting like you
Because
did now.
we would make this decision without input.
Have a
So
night meeting like you
input,
did now.
not input.
And part of it is also the media. I'm familiar, I know how you guys kind of have to walk a tightrope. It's not like I'm stupid, ignorant to that fact. But it needs to be 100% true if it's going to be published. And that's, again, not all you guys' fault. The media does like to, that's how you sell newspapers, you know. So I just think we should have scheduled a night meeting much sooner should this been an issue. I don't think it's been talked about enough. Do you?
Well, how do you publicize if not through the media?
I don't mean that. I meant discussion of your budget, 45% increase, seeing sensationalistic headlines. Thank you.
Hi, my name is Frank Havens. My father played on the Troy High School football field. I played on the Troy High School football field. My oldest son played on the Troy High School football field and now currently plays college football. And my youngest son is currently playing on the field. My biggest fear is that we've all seen the smaller schools close. Now there's fear that Troy will be out of money in 3 years. That the governor is going to merge schools, and that if every child in Pennsylvania gets a free voucher to go to any school that he or she wishes to go to, that the girls and boys are going to run track and play football and run soccer at other schools. And we won't even have a tax base for a school. And number two, I would like to see closure to the $500,000 field that was built on the hill that nobody has played a game on or thrown a football on in 4 years since it was built. Thank you.
Hi, my name is Zach DePrio. I'm going to ask you all, please just play ignorant to my age. I graduated Troy High School last year. I was a 2.5 sport athlete also. I did cross country and indoor and outdoor track. We don't have indoor facilities. And I would just like to bring up the topic that if Flossburg is charging $15,000 all year round, I know this has been discussed, but what would be the estimated cost of Alparon if we were to do all of our sports down there for the entire year? I think $15,000 is a little rash, even for the entire year. Also, I would like to combat your argument that if we were to build our own facilities, that we would not be able to break even. If you go and look at what track, soccer games, district football games, any of these big facilities that would hurt to build at first, but if you look down the road, you'll see that we'd more than break even within 10 years. Troy is in a great place. It's a fantastic community. It's in the middle of the district practically. There's not very many other district certified tracks. There's not very many other district certified fields. So I think that if we built a facility rather than use Alparon, then I know it would hurt at first, but I think in the long run it would definitely pay off. And I would also like to ask Alparon Park where they're getting their inflation numbers from, because I've heard 3.5%, but over the next 4 years inflation is supposed to be under 2%. So that's just another thing to think about. Thank you very much.
There's a lot of things to listen to and hear what they have to say. I didn't know a lot of this stuff when I came, and I did So the only thing I'd like people to think about tonight is the field that we started to build back some time ago. Somebody made the decision to do that. And, you know, my feelings are that there's a great start there, and that should be finished out. It doesn't have to be $1 million stadium up front. It could be done cheaply, however cheap it was chosen to be. Maybe some used things or helping the community. It doesn't have to be highly paid people that do it. And I think if we continue to go with Alparon Park and go down that road, it doesn't matter how much negotiating and how much change takes place, but eventually we'll be back here with the same questions. What are we going to do? Where are we going to go? So I would like the school board and whoever else needs to think about, you know, what are we going to do